Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
TWA, Flight 800. Contact Report 257.
But now the next question. On the 17th of July 1996, a jumbo jet, a Boeing 747, exploded shortly after takeoff in New York or something like that, and crashed into the sea, causing about 230 deaths. Do you know anything about it?
Certainly, because such incidents are recorded by our surveillance aircraft. Florina also informed me about this unfortunate incident. But why do you ask?
Simply because I am interested in why the plane exploded. The Americans made several statements, but we don't know if one of them is correct.
I can give you information about that. Of course, the Americans want to hide the truth and avoid it by some flimsy explanations because it is their own fault that the misfortune happened. The truth is that the U.S. Navy fired a defensive missile at the plane and was hit by it and caused to explode. Whether this happened intentionally or unintentionally could not be clarified by us yet, but it seems to us after the past investigations that both possibilities must be considered.
Why's that?
It's actually still too early to talk about this.
But what reason could there have been to sacrifice so many people?
An espionage active person who, to our knowledge, was aboard the plane and carried important knowledge, but who had escaped the American Secret Service. There is no doubt that this person was on board, but it is still unclear whether it was intentionally shot down as a result. It is possible, however, that so many people were sacrificed because of a single spy. But our investigations will show whether this is really true.
That would really be awesome, if that were true. But in political, military, and Secret Service contexts, much worse crimes have already been committed, in which thousands or even tens of thousands of people have lost their lives. Just think of the radioactive contamination tests carried out by the Americans and the British, etc., which have killed thousands and thousands of people, which of course has been concealed. And just because of the concealment, I have written an article here, if you want to read it briefly. Ah, yes. But first again, a question concerning the suspected spy in the crashed plane, whose data was called TWA 800 to my knowledge, and which more precisely has crashed in Mauritius Bay off the coast of Long Island, where UFO activities have been recorded for quite some time, as I take from my note here. I would now be interested to know in what context the espionage activity was supposed to have been, military or economic.
Our findings so far have shown that the person in question had secret information of a military nature, in relation to various incidents involving unidentified missiles in the Mauritius Bay area, etc., and in relation to the so-called Brookhaven SDI experiments. Whether the plane was deliberately shot down because of this spy, in order to silence him in this way, is only one possibility, because another is that everything was an accident, although it is undoubtedly certain that the U.S. Navy launched the missile. But there is also another possibility, which we must also consider, namely the fact that on the locating devices of the U.S. Navy, the airplane was probably registered, but was regarded as a so-called UFO, whereupon a firing order took place. And we have to consider this possibility rather than the one with the spying person. But I can't tell you anything more about it yet, but I have to wait and see what the research of Florina's group, which handles everything in this respect, will show.
All sorts of things. If you know the facts, can you find out what the research has revealed?
Of course, because no secret should be made of it, since it is an incident that has a criminal background, if our previous investigations should prove to be completely true.
Contact Report 258.
So I would like to ask you about your research regarding the drama in the USA, where a passenger plane exploded and crashed in Mauritius Bay. You promised me that you would tell me what happened there as soon as you clarified everything. That is probably why you are here now, isn't it?
That is right. Well, our guess was correct regarding the circumstances of the crash of the TWA 800 plane on the 17th of July, 1996 in the Mauritius Bay area. The cause of the disaster was a rocket missile from the U.S. Navy that erroneously positioned the aircraft on its equipment as an unknown foreign missile and thus identified as a UFO, whereupon the command went out to launch this missile without excuse because through the haste and great carelessness, the airplane was classified as an unknown flying object, and in certain respects, the national security of the USA had supposedly been threatened. This fact is now, of course, concealed by all means available to the government, the secret services, and the Navy.
This is really awesome. But tell me, do you not violate your directives with this declaration because you know that I like to put such matters officially on paper as contact reports?
We also thought about this and therefore asked the High Council whether the declaration could be official or not. The view of the High Council was that the event was such an inhuman crime that it should be officially announced. Under the guise of national security, the High Council declared, the U.S. military and the U.S. intelligence services and their government committed such disgraceful crimes in secret missions that the worldwide public should be made aware of them in order to denounce all the disgraceful machinations and bring them to a standstill over time. However, we must not do this ourselves and not officially, but we may give only by you the necessary information, whereby it is then left to you and other persons to spread these in useful form.
But these crimes also fall under secrecy in America.
That is correct. But by the promise of the High Council, we may give you the information in this particular case for official use.
Contact Report 265.
I can only explain that we have clear records that clearly prove that the plane was hit by a missile that was supposed to shoot down the TWA 800 for defense reasons, because a misinterpretation led to the assumption that the plane was an unknown and hostile object. The missile, however, did not explode due to a malfunction of its detonator, but merely tore a hole in the aircraft and continued to shoot, only to fall somewhere into the sea. Due to circumstances unknown to us, a sparking mechanism must have been created when the projectile hit, which caused the aviation fuel to explode. It may be natural for someone to have brought a bomb aboard the TWA, but it certainly did not explode, if there was a bomb aboard at all. Our records did not mislead us, nor did our investigations, to the effect that the missile projectile was the cause of the aircraft being damaged and then caused to explode by a sparking mechanism. If the story about the man applies as it is set out in the written, then at least not in the sense that his bomb, if there actually was one, exploded. If such a bomb actually existed, then it must either have been found by the salvage crews or thrown out somewhere into the sea where it was not found.